Clickbait titles, that's what we are going to be walking through today. No, I'm just kidding. I'm going to tell you guys how I spent $4,000 on Black Friday and my birthday. They're both within the same week. And let's just go ahead and get into this. So I'm probably showing it to you guys on the screen right now. On Black Friday, I figured, I would go over to the mall and make a little purchase. Ended up purchasing about $2,000 of the stock. SPG, that's Simon Properties Group. They are a mall REIT. Basically, they rent out space to those companies that you see in the mall. So every time those mall companies make money, they pay Simon Property, and then Simon Property pays the shareholders. This is called a REIT, or an REIT, or Real Estate Investment Trust. It's a good way to own real estate indirectly if anybody wants to get into that, wants to get into owning real estate, but they don't have enough money to own real estate. Most people don't know it yet, but they do have enough money to own real estate. They just have not taken the plunge yet, have not gotten the proper education on it. And for my birthday, I took about $2,000 and threw it in my Roth IRA. Make sure you guys go ahead and try to max out that Roth IRA. There's a lot of videos out there already. I don't really have time to make one at this time, but there's a lot of tax benefits. They'll basically not tax the money in that account. You can pull out all the money that you contribute except for the gains, and it's just a very good tax shelter for your money. So make sure you go ahead and max that out. The cutoff point is April, and let's just go ahead and get into the rest of this video. On my birthday, I went ahead and spent $2,000 in my Roth IRA. Make sure you guys go ahead and try to max those out. I think the max is $6,500 this year. Could be wrong, but last year it was $6,000. It might be $6,000 again, but I believe it's $6,500. So make sure you, if you can, just go ahead and max that out. There's a lot of good tax benefits to that. You can pull all of your money out of the Roth that you contribute. You can't pull out the gains without being penalized on it, but it's just a good tax shelter for your money. So let's talk a little bit about Black Friday, since it's a long time after Black Friday, but I have a life kind of, and it takes a little bit for me to get these videos out. But let's talk a little bit about SPG. Got some statistics for you guys. So Simon Properties Group, or SPG, they pay a $2.10 dividend. They've been growing that dividend, and I really like that. Their yield is going up recently because there's a huge mall scare. People think that Amazon's going to come in and they're just going to take over all the mall. All the retailers are supposed to be taking a huge hit, but I think it's a little bit overblown. I like the risk reward at these prices. So I see a little bit of resistance around the 145 range. So I figured, 150-ish, I'll go ahead and pick up some shares. If I go ahead and get paid a little bit more and it's down lower, I might think about picking up some more shares. This is just a thing for me. I like a good sized position to pay me out about $5 to $10 a month, depending on the yield. Like if it was an Apple, $5 is good. If it's a little bit higher of a yield, like a REIT or something like that, or like a 3M, I like to make at least $10 a month. So every time I buy a big tranche of a stock, I like it to pay at about $30 quarterly or $10 monthly, depending on what type of stock it is. So yeah, $10 a month is pretty good size for me. I'm thinking about bolstering my ExxonMobil position. Want to get that up to about $10 a month. Focusing on dividends in my Robinhood account, and I'm focusing a little bit more on growth in my M1 Finance account. I think it's more prudent at this point in this long bull run to go with a little bit more current yield, just because I think that people will flood into those stocks if this economy does start to drop. So that's just kind of what I'm sticking with, those proven companies that are kind of high dividend payers that have a safe dividend. By the way, Robinhood link in the description. If you sign up with that link, we'll both get a free stock. That's my plug for the video, and moving on to the next topic. So for this stock, I bought 15 shares. It pays out $2.10 per quarter. So that's about $30 per quarter. It's exactly, I've got it here, it's $31.50 a quarter. So it's about $10, basically increasing my income, residual income for the rest of my life, or as long as SPG is in existence. If they go ahead and cut that dividend, I'll consider selling the stock. But it's just a really nice feeling to know that there's $10 a month coming into my pocket that I don't have to work for. And that doesn't seem like a lot, but if you do that month after month after month, now after a year, you're making $120 that you don't have to work for. You do that for another year, now you could potentially be making $250 to $300 that you don't have to work for. And it just starts to snowball very quickly until you're getting to the point where you're not really having to work for a lot of your money. You can go ahead and just work part-time and let your portfolio take care of the rest, do all the heavy lifting. Eventually you get to the point where your portfolio is more productive than you are working. And at that point you could stop working, you could go work part-time, you could pursue something that's a little bit higher risk or higher reward. You could do a lot of things. You have options. And before we go, I just want to make one last note about consumption. So a lot of sentiment that you see out there is things about like saving money or being a smart consumer. So people will say something like, oh, I went to the store and I got this TV, I saved X amount of dollars. Okay, well, if you really look at it, you did not save any money, you spent less. Okay, that's thing number one. Number two is consumption is okay, but you need to at least be somewhat of a producer. To fully participate in the economy, you need to not only be a consumer, but also be a producer. You need to give something back. You're either a consumer and a producer, or you're a consumer and a beggar. What do I mean by that? I mean, you either produce something in the form of products, services, investments, or you don't. You just consume. And when you imagine a consumer, I want you guys to imagine what happens when somebody is a huge consumer. They become fat, right? They just become just this big blob, like Jabba the Hutt, right? And it's just feed me more, right? And that person is not very useful, right? Not shaming people that sounded kind of bad. I'm not shaming people that are overweight. What I'm saying is that person is not very useful. They're not providing anything back. So to fully participate in the economy, you need to not only consume, but you need to produce something. Someone who all they do is consume, and then they ask for wages for their company, and they want more wages from their company, and they want more wages for their company, and then they want more consumption. That is just a consumer. You cannot fully participate in the economy. You cannot fully reap the benefits of this type of an economy unless you're putting something back into it to get something back out of it. So yeah, there is no power in consumption. You cannot be at the same time powerful and a beggar. You cannot beg from the economy and hold power in the economy. They're just not two things that are congruent. So that's pretty much it for today. Consumption is okay, but I just hope that you guys are coupling it with a little bit of production. And if you guys like this video, make sure you give it a like, and I'll see you guys in the next one.